بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بهديه إلى يوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Last night a question was posed from Toronto, Ontario. What are the items on your desk and what purpose do they serve, or what is the wisdom behind the items on your desk? Alhamdulillah, a good question. Whereas HadithDisciple, we have a culture. It's much more than just a lecture or a channel or a video, but it's a culture, it's a movement, it's a school of thought, as we've said. Whether it's something pertaining to me personally or us as a whole. So the desk, we have different things on the desk. What we have tonight, mathalan, let's start off with hourglass. For obvious reasons, keeping time. If I'm not mistaken, both bulbs are about maybe an hour and a half. So this keeps time, but not the time that's kept with this, our wal-Marjan. This is an antique traveler's clock. Probably, I would say maybe from anywhere between the 40s and the 60s. Made in Germany, a fine timepiece. But keeping time with this is a bit different than keeping time with that. This has digits, it's ticking, the hands move. This is time is moving, but without seeing the hands move. So sometimes I have three or four things on the table. I may have my pocket watch, which I don't have tonight. And we explained why we like pocket watches in the video on Mufti Q&A. We have the table clock, we have the hourglass, and you may have a clock in the masjid. I may not pay attention to this, but I may get that. The bulb is empty. It's too long, time to switch, whatever. I may look at the ticking or hit it ticking, look at the seconds, look at the hands, etc. It's different ways of time that I try to stay on time with. All right? Obviously, it's much more than just a way of keeping time. Sometimes we have the buzzer. The hourglass symbolizes many, many things. First and foremost is the importance of time. The time is valuable, it's precious, and it's ancient. Classicness of it, the nostalgic feel of it, wood, glass, sand, how glass comes from sand, how time turns into righteous deeds, or time could turn into wicked deeds, waliyadu billah. The value of time. And there are many other symbolic things regarding the hourglass as well. We explained the traveler's clock and how old it is. This is maybe I believe, if I'm not mistaken, maybe snake skin or maybe crocodile skin. It's green, money green. That's also symbolic. Time is money, right? Then we have mathalan, these empty bottles here. One is a Parker, one is a Waterman, and one without a label. This is an actual ink pot. And an interesting fact is that before it was HadithDisciple, it was Hadith Studies. And before Hadith Study, it was an ink pot publications. The 40 Hadith on Seeking Knowledge that we printed wasn't under HadithDisciple publications. It was under 40 Hadith on Seeking Knowledge. It was under ink pot publications. So the ink pot being representative or symbolic to so many things. Ahl Hadith, classic, the history of this country, America, etc. Old-fashioned pen. And then, of course, we have the infamous quills. This wild turkey quill. We have wild goose. And this is another type of turkey as well. We know the symbolicism of that. Ahl Hadith, the ink pot, the quill, writing the Hadith, writing the books at nighttime, the candle flickering, etc. It's beauty. And just frugality. These things aren't necessarily expensive. They're not cheap, but they're not super expensive. So we enjoy certain things that aren't necessarily super expensive or super fancy and flashy. Then we have here an inkstand. This is an old-fashioned inkstand from overseas. All right, it was hand-painted, made out of clay and pottery. And where we can put the quills. We may put some ink. We may put the pot in it or the pen there. You can mix it up as you like. There are different types of pots This is handmade, like I said. It's nice, symbolic. Then we have the gourd, which is a new addition. This gourd here, coming from a squash, in the squash family, pumpkin, zucchini, etc. A squash, butternut squash, summer squash. Now, it was hollowed out, dried, carved, hand carved. And the information that I was given is that this was made by some of the slaves on the southern plantations. I bought this when I was in South Carolina visiting some family last summer at an old antique shop. So, supposedly, according to how the story goes, certain African slaves that were taken from West Africa and brought to the American coast, they kept certain cultural practices with them, religious practices with them, certain arts and certain crafts, okay, that weren't totally wiped out or abolished. And this was one of them. You may see it in a movie or in a book or something. In an African type of setting, people drinking from things like this. And other cultures as well. Wine gourds in East Asia is well known. This was the plastic back then. This was glass, obviously was very expensive. And everyone didn't necessarily use glass or make glass. That which came from the earth, that which was grew, it was always cheaper and easier to manufacture. For example, clay versus stone. Stone is very expensive. وهكذا. Steel versus that which comes from the earth, okay? So this is symbolic to many things. Emptying your cup. The original cup, the first cup. Making sure that it's bone dry. Unfortunately, last summer, I don't know whether it was an ayn, Allahu alam, shaitan alim, as they say, but it got cracked. So I wasn't able to drink out of it. You can drink out of it, but the water will spill out of it just a bit. It got cracked. So that's some of the symbolicism behind this. Then we have an old tea kettle. First and foremost, it's clearly black and yellow. I'm sure the official HadithDisciple colors. And it's also made in Japan. It's made in Japan, so it's Japanese. So that symbolizes all types of things. Those who know it, and those who what? Don't know it, they don't know it. So you can drink out of it, boil water out of it, make wudu with it. And it's symbolic to emptying the cup and then bathing in that ta'ala me what? Filling the cup. Because emptying the cup is only half of the process of enlightenment or learning. When we say empty a cup, it doesn't mean, as some people think, just to be stupid. We don't want to make cult followers. Emptying the cup doesn't mean just listen to me. I know everything. No. Emptying your cup means learning systematically. Get rid of the information that you have, or at least put it to the side. Because the information is either useless, which many of us have useless information. Whether something weak, something that's incorrect, something that's not authentic, or something that is good, but it's cluttered. I can't give you nothing if you have it all. So empty your cup in order to what? So we have the empty gourd, and then we have the black and yellow what? During the pouring. HadithDisciple teaching you, by Allah's permission, with the little that Allah has taught us. So that's some of the symbolicism behind this fellow right here. Last but not least, this isn't nothing that's that symbolic. Die cast iron cup, saucer for tea. Okay, this is made in America. It's not really old, it's not really ancient, but it's sturdy. How one's cup is always bare throughout the time. Keep learning, keep studying. Even when you study for 5 years, study for another 5 years. And then study for another 10 years. And it can be withstand the test of time. Never rust. Even if it does rust, rust is not always a bad thing. Iron will rust. True, good iron is going to rust. It's supposed to rust because it's iron. Everybody understand this? Or steel as well. Khairan, inshallah. So these are just some of the pieces that are on the table. Then we have the teacups. Tonight we have a cold blend. And we have our trusty hip flask, and which is the cold tea. So these are some things that are on the table. Some of their purposes and some of their wisdoms. Hopefully I didn't take too much of your time with something that may not be that important. We only explained because we were what? We were asked. Khairan, inshallah. So let's get started with tonight's class, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Last night, what did we talk about? Khalid. The hadith of Aisha regarding
the two lady that came
The two Jewish women who came and they said what?
The dead are punished in the grave.
The punishment in the grave, okay? Okay.
And Aisha, she didn't believe at first, because they were lying. And then when the Prophet came in, she had some moments in the law, two old ladies came and she told them the whole story and said that it's the truth and the dead are really punished. And to the extent that animals hear them being punished in the grave.
Jazakallah khairan. And we mentioned many benefits pertaining to that. The story of Aisha with the Jewish women. Benefits, فوائد في الأصول. حجية قول الصحابي من عدم حجيتي. ذكرنا شيء مما يتعلق بهذا. What else do we talk about regarding the hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas? Hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas regarding the dhikr after the salah and congregation. We explained that hadith as well. And we also talked about al-adillah, the dalil. What is dalil in Islam? Give me 5 things which the scholars of Islam consider dalil. Whether they agree or whether they differ on it. Khalid. Al-Quran. Sunnah. Al-Ijma'. We said Al-Qiyas.
Custom.
Al-Urf. Al-Ada. Or Shar'u man qablana. The legislature of the previous people. Like Musa with the shoes. Fakhla'na alayka. Take off your shoes when you go into the masjid. Or سد الذريعة ولا تقربوا الزنا ليس هناك ولا تزنوا فيدخل في ذلك سفر المرأة بدون محرم مصافحة المرأة التعطر عند الخروج التبرج الخلوة بالأجنبية كلها يدخل في إيش؟ في سد الذرائع. إيش الذنب؟ أنت تصافح المرأة نيتك طيبة أنت رجل نظيف إن شاء الله ونزيه. شو الضار في هذا؟ ليش تتشدد أنت؟ عرفت كيف؟ فالواحد يعني يستعجل لا قد يكون فعلا ليس هناك شيء لكنه باب يدخل منه إلى ما هو أشد. عرفت كيف؟ ولا تقربوا الزنا. Allah says don't go near what? Zina. طيب. خير. What else did we mention? We said all of this is in the study of what? Usul al-fiqh. The study of what? Usul al-fiqh. And we said this before that every single Muslim, not just students of knowledge, every single Muslim should have a general basic grasp of usul al-fiqh. Every Muslim should know basic things about usul al-fiqh. General, specific, this is abrogated, this was cancelled. This is explained. Mujmal, mufassal, etc. Hujjah, what the Sahaba say and do, is that Islam? What's the proof and evidence in Islam? Especially in 2018, which Islam is being attacked from every single aspect and angle, from within and from without. And you being a general layman, 9 to 5 Muslim, knowing the basic concepts, basic principles of usul al-fiqh is very crucially important. Just like every Muslim should know the basics of ulum al-Quran, the basics, ulum al-Quran. They can't not know anything about the sciences of the Quran. There's something called qira'at. Do you know all of them? La. But I know there is more than one way of reciting the Quran. Ibn Mas'ud, Zayd ibn Thabit, this one, Ibn Abbas from the Mufassirin. Basics of tafsir, basics of asbab nuzul, basics of Makki and Madani, basics. Every single Muslim should know the basics of ilm al-hadith, the basic stuff. Imam al-Bukhari lived in the 3rd century. Imam Muslim lived in the 3rd century. There's the compilation of hadiths. There are hadith sahihah, hadith wahakaba, basics. Every Muslim has to know the what? The basics of these things, the simple basic things. And the more intelligent you are, the more you like to read and study, and the more studious you are, even as a layman Muslim, it's what? It's better for you. And eventually, bidhnillahi ta'ala, hopefully, you read more books, you study, you become frustrated. Alright? You become frustrated by what's available in English, or I can't get it, and that will force you to learn Arabic. And then bidhnillahi ta'ala, you start learning systematically in al-lugha al-arabiyyah. Tayyib, we also made examples about al-fiqh and usul al-fiqh in English, or American culture being what? Court of law, constitution, the bill of what? Rights. Wahakada, a lawyer, a judge, a prosecutor. What is proof, what isn't proof? Alright, clearness, we made examples regarding this. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. So let's get started with the next chapter. And before we move on, we also explained in general the al-hayat fil qabr, life in the grave, the punishment in the grave, the blessings in the grave. There are reasons behind people being blessed and punished in their graves. Different issues. مسائل تتعلق بعذاب القبر وبنعيم القبر. ذكرنا هذا ولو على وجه الاختصار. طيب, let's move forward. Chapter number 25, the author says, باب ما يستعاذ منه في الصلاة. حديث عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يستعيذ في صلاته من فتنة الدجال. حديث عائشة زوج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم رضي الله عنها أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يدعو في الصلاة اللهم إني أعوذ بك من عذاب القبر وأعوذ بك من فتنة المسيح الدجال وأعوذ بك من فتنة المحيا وفتنة الممات اللهم إني أعوذ بك من المأثم والمغرم. فقال له قائل ما أكثر ما تستعيذ من المغرم؟ فقال إن الرجل إذا غرم حدث فكذب ووعد فأخلف. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يدعو اللهم إني أعوذ بك من عذاب القبر ومن عذاب النار ومن فتنة المحيا والممات ومن فتنة المسيح الدجال. Chapter 25, page 207, volume 1, it says, things from which one should seek refuge with Allah during as-salah, the prayer. Things that the slave, the servant, man and woman, should ask Allah to protect them from, not after the salah, but in the salah. Difference. على وجه الاستحباب ولا على وجه الوجوب والحتم. عرفت كيف؟ المهم هذا مشروع. هذا يدل على شرعيته. على سبيل الوجوب وعلى سبيل الاستحباب المهم هو مشروع. فليس لأحد أيا كان من هذا المذهب أو هذه العادة والعرف أو البلد فينكره. يقول ليس من السنة. هو تشدد. هو تطرف. لا أبدا. هو مشروع ثابت بالنص. طيب. Is it obligatory or is it recommended? Doesn't state that in the chapter heading. What's important is that it's what? Legislated. It's from the deen. So no one of any place, any time, any madhab, any culture can come and say, you shouldn't do this in the salah. You can't do this in the salah. This is harshness or extremism in the salah. This is clearly proven by the text. So the author says that which a person should seek refuge from in the salah. What's the difference between in the salah and after the salah? So chapter number 24 says, باب استحباب التعوذ من عذاب القبر. The recommendation of seeking Allah's refuge from punishment in the grave. And chapter 25 says, باب ما يستعاذ منه في الصلاة. That which one should seek refuge in Allah from in the prayer. So what's the difference between chapter 25 and chapter 24? What's the difference? Is there a difference? One is after and one is before. كيف? بعد, oh, it says لا انتبه. لا, listen carefully. Listen carefully. It says what? فما رأيته بعد في صلاة إلا تعوذ من عذاب القبر. She's saying that the Prophet ﷺ, she says in English here, since then I always saw him seeking refuge with Allah from the punishment of the grave in his salah. That's in chapter 24. And chapter 25 says that which you should seek Allah's refuge from. Huh? So what's the difference? Chapter 24 affirms that the Prophet did it when? In the salah. And the hadiths that are under chapter 25 deal with? So what's the difference now? Is there a difference? Notice the difference, Khalid? طيب, hadith number 344 is narrated Aisha radiallahu anha. I heard Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his salah prayer seeking refuge with Allah from the fitna of ad-Dajjal. Hadith 345 is narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha as well, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to invoke Allah in as-salah, the prayer, saying, and then it mentions the transliteration of that. It says here, trials and tribulations, trials and afflictions of al-Masih ad-Dajjal, and from the fitna, trials and afflictions, etc., of life, and the fitna of death. Allah, I seek refuge with you from the sins and from being in debt. so frequently seek refuge? Somebody said to him, why do you so frequently seek refuge with Allah from being in debt? The Prophet ﷺ replied, a person in debt tells lies when he speaks, or whenever he speaks, and he breaks his promise whenever he makes them. He breaks his promises whenever he makes them. Hadith 346 is narrated by Aisha by Abu Hurairah as well. Allah's Messenger ﷺ used to invoke Allah, mentions the transliteration. O Allah, I seek refuge with you from the punishment in the grave, and the punishment in the hellfire, and from the fitna, trials and afflictions of life and death, and the fitna, trials and afflictions of Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal. Everybody clear on this or not? So these three hadiths, they prove what? That the Messenger of Allah ﷺ what? He did something where? In his prayer. So if he did it in his prayer, prayer is the act of what? Custom or worship? Worship. So if the Prophet ﷺ did it in prayer, then it automatically means what? Ahsant. You do it ala istihbabihi. Is that thing is what? Recommended. If the Prophet ﷺ drank water, does it prove that drinking water is recommended? No, because drinking water is from his custom. Everybody clear on this? Now if he spoke about the water, the barakah of the water, say Bismillah with the right hand, then that's a different what? Then it has a spiritual, alayhi sabgha diniya alan. Wala fayulhaq bil urf wal aada. Everybody clear on this? So salah is nothing that's customary about what? Prayer. It's ibadah. So the sheer fact that he did it, it automatically proves that that act is recommended. And it does not become obligatory until when? Proven otherwise. Such as the Prophet what? Commanding. Or the Prophet saying, don't pray unless you do this. He who prays and doesn't seek refuge in Allah from this is this and this is فَقَدْ نَقَصَ فَصَلَاتُهُ نَاقِصَةٌ وَهَكَذَا. Everyone understand this? This is usul al-fiqh here. And how to extract and deduce. The Prophet ﷺ did this in his prayer, so it proves that that act is recommended. Now, an issue that could go more than one way is that which is called Jilsatul Istiraha. What is Jilsatul Istiraha? Anybody know what that is? Go back up where? Qiyam. Coming from what position? Coming from sujood. Before you get up into qiyam, you do what? You sit there for a second. What's the supplication that you make in that sitting? Omar, what's the supplication you make? Okay. طيب ماذا تقول في جلسة الاستراحة؟ هل هناك دعاء شيء يعني وارد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم؟ لا في الجلسة قبل ما تقوم من الركعة الثانية رفعت من السجود ولا لا؟ أنت الآن جالس ولا كيف؟ جالس؟ طيب أنت قال لي لا يا شيخ صليت ركعة عرفت؟ الآن أنت ساجد راح تقول في السجود شيء ولا لا؟ إلا أدعية بعدين ترفع من السجود تقف وتجلس شوي ليس بين سجدتين آخر السجدة في الركعة الأولى قبل القيام إلى الركعة الثانية لا إلا أنت تدري أنت الآن في القيام الحمد لله رب العالمين قل هو الله أحد ولا لا تركع سبحان ربي العظيم بعدين سجود بعدين جلسة راح تقول إيش اللهم بعدين تسجد بعد السجدة الثانية شو أنت مسوي كيف ما صلي أنت الآن سجد كم مرة ولا مرتين مرتين أيوة راح تقوم لي الركعة الثانية ولا لا قبل القيام وبعد السجدة الثانية والأخيرة تجلس شوي تقف ولا تقوم مباشرة تقوم ما تجلس
شوي
طيب لما تجلس شوي راح تقول شو فهمت الآن أنت معي ولا لا You got it Khalid or not What do you say when you're in Jilsat al-Istiraha What do you say You say nothing or you don't know of anything You don't know of anything What do you say Talib So therefore if there's a position in the salah هل هناك في الصلاة مكان خال من الذكر هذا السؤال وهو كأنه يعني مبدأ الإشكال. كيف أنت تكون في مكان في position بدون ذكر؟ كيف؟ هل هناك سكوت في الصلاة؟ So they say that this position has no supplication, proving that it's not actually an act of worship. And the Prophet ﷺ only sat down and paused for a little bit because of something else. Age, weakness, something else. Hajjah. But it's not غير مقصودة. They say it's not something the Prophet ﷺ did in the original prayer. And the companions who narrated جلسة الاستراحة, they all came later on. هكذا يقولون. ممن تأخرت هجرته أو وفوده على النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في حال الكبر. أنت معي ولا لا؟ فضلا عنه خالد من إيش؟ ليس هو ذكر. So they say that the Prophet he only sat down like that because of what? Of a need. And that's not something in which you can say it's recommended to do. That's their argument. We're not here to discuss هل هو القول الصحيح ولا المهم. We're just mentioning the problem. But this here is what? Him doing something in the salah is clearly what? Maqsood is intended. He's what? Saying something, doing something in the salah. And not like the thing in which he's sitting down, which it could have been because of age, or it could have been because it was the sunnah to do. Everybody understand this? So the point is that the rule is that whenever the Prophet does something in the salah, then the default to that act is what? That act is what? That's recommended. It's a sunnah act. Anything the Prophet did in an act of worship. But the problem, the trick that I'm trying to throw this spike in your spokes, your will, is that the Prophet also did something in the prayer, and many ulama, if not most of them, say that it isn't recommended. But there's a what?
There's a gap.
There's a difference, a gap. There's an inconsistency between the two. Let alone there's more than one companion saying the Prophet used to what? Say it all the time. Am I clear on this or not? So therefore, we benefit that it's recommended to say these what? These things in the salah, not what? Obligatory. Until we have another hadith or ijma, another clue that proves that it's only, or that it's what? Mandatory. And you can take this one rule and apply it to how many hadiths, Talib?
Most of them, a lot of them.
50 hadiths. What I'm just saying, just the rule. Once you get the rule, then you can actually what?
Use it.
On any issue, hajj, divorce, eating, drinking, sleeping. You understand? Khairan, inshallah. So, that's the first main fiqh issue that we get from these three narrations. Tayyib, moving forward. The next thing we benefit from these hadiths with regards to the ahkam is the danger of a debt. The danger of a debt. The debt is serious and dangerous. Number 3 is the impermissibility of lying. Number 4, the impermissibility of breaking your promise. And number 5, the impermissibility of sinning. The impermissibility of what? To make any sin. The Prophet used to seek refuge from what? Al-ma'tham. We have people today who say al-iman fil qalb. What's the problem? Faith is in your where? In your heart. It's not what type of dress you wear, or what you eat, or what you do, or what you say, or where you go, or this and that. That has nothing to do with true Islam. True Islam is where? In the heart. And it doesn't make what sin you make, because Allah is forgiving, Allah is merciful. It doesn't matter. And the Prophet himself sought Allah's refuge from sin. Everybody clear on this? What sins did the Prophet make? What sins did the Prophet ﷺ do? What sins was he going to fall into? How many sins do we make in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, at dinner, lunch? 30 minutes, watching your phone for 10 minutes, one video. How many sins you get from one jilsa with your brothers laughing and joking? One act with your girlfriend, zina. How many sins you make? And the Prophet, he sought Allah's refuge from what? Sin. Everybody understand this is very dangerous. So those are the fiqh rulings that we get from these hadiths. Moving forward. These hadiths, we also benefit issues of aqeedah as well. Such as the reality of al-Masih al-Dajjal. The Dajjal is real. And we know there are other hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said that there's never been a prophet except that he warned his people from the Masih al-Dajjal. لكن هناك إشكال. ما من نبي إلا قد أنذر قومه منه. لكن أليس الأنبياء والرسل قد بشروا أقوامهم برسول كمل فكيف يحذرهم من الدجال مع أن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام جاء بعده؟ فهمت الإشكال؟ قال ما من نبي بما في ذلك كل الأنبياء السابقين، كيف يستقيم هذا مع ذاك؟ The Prophet ﷺ tells us, the Quran tells us, that the prophets came and they gave glad tidings of what? Of prophets to what? Come after. Generally or specifically. So how did they warn their people from the Dajjal, and why? If some of them knew or they were told that there would be another prophet. In other words, time wasn't going to end during their... Everybody understand the problem or not? هذا إشكال. الإشكال الثاني is when we talk about the Dajjal and he is the worst fitna, how was he never ever mentioned in the Quran? كيف ما ورد ذكره في الكتاب العزيز. And that's the greatest thing that the Prophet ﷺ feared upon his ummah, and is not mentioned once what? In the Quran. تفضل أجيب على هذا الإشكال. That's a serious thing now. The problem of the Dajjal, but he's the what? Greatest thing, the greatest fear upon his nation is the what? Dajjal. And it's not mentioned by name, it's not mentioned in the what? In the Quran at all. How do we answer this question? ما هو الجواب مشايخ؟ فهمت الإشكال؟ Look at it like this. Eid Adha is coming, right? I'm doing the khutbah about the rulings of Eid, the rulings of Adha. And the most important thing regarding slaughtering of animals, I failed to mention in my 30-minute khutbah. And this is the Friday before the Eid. The Eid is tomorrow morning. That'll be very what? Very interesting, huh? For me to give I'm giving you all of the rulings of the Eid. What to do, what not to do, what's good, what's bad, the recommended, the obligatory acts, ashurut, al-arkan, and all. And I forget to mention aham shay, wa akhtar shay. That's very what? Very interesting. So how was this? What's the answer to that?
Maybe we should go looking for the answer.
Maybe we should go looking for the answer. What answers do you have now? You're on a train. You're in school and college. Your professor asks you. Just Google it, huh? Tayyip, what do you think, Khalid? Give it a shot. Put on your thinking, Kufi. Tayyip, anybody got an answer online? Without Googling it. And I'm sure that many disciples that are strong online, they don't have to necessarily use Google. Not saying that using Google is a bad thing. Huh? Yani, we're not against technology. The internet in general, let alone Google, is an amazing, Subhan al-Khaliq Azza wa Jal. Amazing creature of Allah. The amount of information, the stuff that you can find at your fingertips, the beneficial knowledge on the internet. We're not with the people saying the internet is bad, it's evil, A'udhu Billah, you can't learn from online. No, that's not true. That's not true. Everybody understand this? And benefiting from Google is just like benefiting from the books. You go pick up a book, it's not like him picking up a book. Who's learned, who's trained, who has the nose and the neck, where to find what's good, what's bad. Everybody understand this? A professional butcher, you have a piece of meat, a steak, and a professional butcher, he takes the steak and he does what? He cuts it and slices it, he makes it lean, all of the fat, the gristle, the trimmings, it's gone. It's not the same as somebody just said, oh, it looks good, put it in the pan. So you have to have skills in using Google as well, you have to have knowledge. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this or not? And it's no different than books. أليس هناك كتب ضلالة؟ كتب ضلال، كتب كفر وانحراف، السحر والعشق موجود ولا لا؟ بكثرة ولا قلة؟ فما بالك أنت تشدد في الجوجل تتسامح في الكتب. ليس كل الكتب فيها خير. All books aren't good. All books aren't beneficial. There are plenty of all types of books of evil, kufr, atheism, sorcery, all types of stuff you'll find in what? Books of the occult. Everybody understand this? And you'll find all types of beneficial things on Google. So there's no difference except for ease and simplicity and the amount of information at your fingertips. Yes, that's the difference. Last check. No doubt about that. Books you have to buy, you have to go to the library, they're heavy, they're cumbersome, etc. It's not as easy. It's not as fun. Everybody understand this? But the concept is the what? Is the same. Everybody clear on this or not? So what's the answer? Anybody got an answer for this?
Quran and Sunnah go hand in hand.
That the Quran and Sunnah go hand in hand. Okay? So what does this have to do with the Dajjal? What is this? How does this prove that the Sunnah goes hand in hand with the Quran?
So it was mentioned in the Quran.
That it wasn't mentioned in the Quran, and the Prophet ﷺ, he did his job. They mentioned in the Sunnah. How can you be a believer in certain things and you reject hadiths? Any other answers?
Online it says, is the reason that it was not mentioned in the Quran is so people follow the hadith also.
That's the same thing that you're saying. Are there any other answers?
Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would call upon the people or tell them to obey someone, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say to obey me and my messenger.
Same thing. Kullu same.
Usually the same answer.
Basically the same. تقريبا هو أهمية السنة الاحتجاج نفسه. Any other answers? Let's move forward with our hadith tonight. This goes to show us that the Prophet ﷺ could seek refuge in Allah from a thing that he may not necessarily fall into, or he may not necessarily do, but to show the importance of it to his what? Followers. Allah says about what? The Prophet making shirk in the Quran. Many verses. لا يحبطن عملك ولا تكونن من الخاسرين. هل النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام يتصور أن يعني يحبط عمله ويقع في الشرك؟ فإن فعلت فإنك Allah says فإنك إذا من الظالمين. ولا تدع من دون الله ما لا ينفعك ولا يضرك. هل ينطبق هذا على النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام؟ لكن الأمر الصريح في غاية الصراحة. Don't make any shirk. Don't call upon Allah other than Allah Azza wa Jal. So the Prophet was given commands and prohibitions. All of them weren't necessarily for what? For him, but for his what? Followers. If I'm warning this wise, shrewd businessman who's a millionaire from being irresponsible with his money, then how much would it apply to somebody who's just an average person being what? Irresponsible with their money. You may become bankrupt like this. And this person is an alim of money and finance and economics. How about the one who's just a what? A layman. Min bab ish? Min bab awla. If the Prophet was warned from shirk, then how about what? His followers. So if the Prophet ﷺ is asking Allah to protect him from al-Masih or Dajjal, then what about us? Everybody clear on this? Why is the Dajjal called Masih? Why does he have this name, Al-Masih? And Allah also says, wal-Masih ibn Maryam. You tell me. What is Al-Masih or Dajjal?
I think he said some of the ulama say that Masih comes from a different language, Hebrew or something like that.
Some say it comes from a different language. It was been Arabicized. Tayyib, Mashiach, things like this. We mentioned where at? What book? Kitab al-Iman. Kitab al-Iman. About the Dajjal being what? Slain by Isa.
And then we said that some of the ulama say that the name comes from Masaka. He will touch everywhere in the
Touching, wiped.
the white entire earth, something like that.
Touching the whole earth. Tayyib. Or? Tayyib. Jazakallah khairan. At least you remember something. Tayyib. The hadith says, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr wa min adhab al-nar wa min fitnat al-mahya wal-mamat. So we have four things. Number one, punishment in the grave, punishment in the fire, the fitna of life and death, and the fitna of the Dajjal. Aren't all of these things all included in what? Or at least 3 out of 4 included in what? They're all included in what? The grave is included in what? The trials and afflictions of what? Of death. Being punished in the hellfire are included in what? The trials and afflictions of? Of death. Al-Mamat. Everybody clear this or not? So why did the Prophet ﷺ, did he say these things, repeat them? Did he repeat them? Or is it a wisdom in them? A wisdom in him saying them like this?
He did it to specify.
To mention the specific and then what?
General.
There's nothing wrong with that. A non-Muslim comes and says this is a contradiction. It makes no sense. It doesn't have to be like that. You can mention something specific and then do what? General. Or general then do specific. Not only is that a benefit for you to show you the importance of things, but it's also a means of a unique style. Because someone who's just making something up, in most cases he's going to follow a what? A pattern. He's going to follow a what? A pattern. He's going to do it the same way. Here. But this verse is like this. This verse is mentioned with this letter. This part of the story is mentioned. General, specific. That shows that it's what? Greater than the human what? Human mind. Something deeper than that. So this is an example that if you were in a debate or an argument about Islam, the proof that they're trying to use against you, you could skillfully do what? Use it against them. By clearness, you can use it what? Against them. But you can't do that unless you're properly what? Trained. So someone tries to come and put mace in your face, spray you, at full blast, they say. If you had good self-defense, you could do what? Deflect it on what? And put it on him. Everyone understand this or not? Khairan inshallah. These hadiths, just like the previous chapter, affirm life in the grave, now, and affirm what? Punishment in the grave, and affirm blessings in the grave. Tayyib. From the issues that pertain to this chapter, An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, قوله أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يعلمهم هذا الدعاء كما يعلمهم السورة من القرآن وأن طاووسا رحمه الله تعالى أمر ابنه حين لم يدعو بهذا الدعاء فيها بإعادة الصلاة. هذا كله يدل على تأكيد هذا الدعاء والتعوذ والحث الشديد عليه. وظاهر كلام طاووس رحمه الله تعالى أنه حمل الأمر به على الوجوب فأوجب إعادة الصلاة لفواته. وجمهور العلماء على أنه مستحب ليس بواجب. ولعل طاووسا أراد تأديب ابنه وتأكيد هذا الدعاء عنده لأنه يعتقد وجوبه والله أعلم. When says, speaking about a version of these hadiths in Sahih Muslim that says that the Prophet ﷺ used to teach them this supplication in the manner in which he used to teach them a surah from the Quran. He used to teach them this supplication to say in their prayers, just like he taught them what? A surah from the Quran. He says that Tawus rahimahullah, who was Tawus? Tawus was from the Sahaba, Umar? Student of Imam Ahmed. Tahir. Anybody else? Tawus was who? Who was Tawus? Who was the famous strutting peacock? That's what the word Tawus means in Arabic. He was a king. Tawus the king. The peacock king. Anybody else? أي أعجب جوابه ولا هو؟ الله أعلم. في كل خير. هذا يقول تلميذ الإمام أحمد وذا يقول ملك من الملوك. طيب. Who was Tawus? Anybody know who Tawus was? I gave you a big hint. He was a strutting peacock. طيب. Google Tawus. Bismillah. Anybody who's at home, yes, Google, use Alexa, right? Ask Alexa.
LLC, Tawus Motel.
You think Alexa knows Tawus, Tala?
Perhaps.
Or what about Siri? Do they still have Siri?
Yeah.
Ask Siri who's Tawus. Anybody online?
Some music when it came out.
Some music?
Yeah. I think Tawus featuring
It's
Synaptic.
Tawus Motel, huh?
You don't know how to Google, man.
Googling is a skill. All right, so let's try an experiment. You got something?
Yeah, I know how to Google this.
All right, I'll tell you. Okay, we shall see. It says here, he says, I know how to Google. Sayyid ibn Tawus. No, 1 second. Radi ad-Din Ali ibn Musa ibn Tawus. 1193 or to 1266, commonly called Sayyid ibn Tawus, was a Shiite jurist, theologian and historian. ويفتخر يقول أنا عارف جوجل أنا أحسن جوجل لا شوي so how did you spell it? Tawus. Let's try an experiment. It's just a what? It's just an experiment. I'm gonna Google Tawus with Tawous, and let's see what we find.
That's what I did.
He did Tawus. Let's see what we find. So we have some companies. We have pictures of peacocks. So what will be the next step of refining your Google search? No, we tried the spelling. We have 2 spellings. The next thing would be what? Islamic scholar. First result from Google is Tawus ibn such and such on Wikipedia. And then we have Ahmed ibn Tawus. Tayyib. Then we have Sayyid ibn Tawus. Then we have the giants of Persia, etc. The narration of Tawus, proof of placing the hands on chest. So by saying Tawus Islamic scholar, let's open up, see what we find. It says Tawus ibn Kaysan. In Arabic, Tawus ibn Kaysan died 723 of the Common Era, the Gregorian, the Viking calendar. Was one of the Tabi'een and one of the narrators of Hadith and scholars of fiqh. He is also known as Tawus bin Kaysan, Tawus or At-Tawus. He was one of the scholars of the Tabi'een, one of the narrators of Hadith, and a companion of Ali Zayn al-Abidin, Ali ibn al-Hussein. Ibn Hajar related that Tawus was a Persian who inhabited an area called Al-Jund, and then he was the master of Hamdan in Iran. Tayyib. And then he goes on to mention, Abdullah ibn Abbas loved Tawus so much that he said, I believe that Tawus is from the people of Jannah. Allahu Akbar. That's Ibn Abbas what? Saying that about him. So this biography, he says hadith from him are recorded by Muhammad al-Bukhari, 85 traditions, Muslim ibn Hajjaj, 78 traditions, al-Tirmidhi, al-Nasai, Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah, Ahmad bin Hanbal, etc. So there was no way he was from the students of Imam Ahmad. Nor was he a king. Tawus was from the what? Major disciples and pupils of Ibn Abbas. He's from the major disciples of who? Ibn Abbas. Everybody understand this? So this is just a quick, brief, rushed example of some of the techniques of what? Properly Googling. And how one word, one spelling, one sub, prefix, so on and so forth can make a huge difference in what you find. Everybody got this or not? Play it? Even if Wikipedia is wrong, but that sends me in other what? Sources. Let me look at Bukhari. Let me look at everybody. So let's see Tawus and Bukhari. Tawus and Sahih Bukhari. Says here, Islamic names, Tawus, peacock. Sahih Bukhari, book number 48, hadith number 826. Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. The Prophet ﷺ said, Sahih Bukhari, book 56, hadith 791. And you have 50 results just in Sahih Bukhari and where you can find the person's name Tawus. Is it the same or is it different? You go back and you'll see. Everybody understand this? وهكذا what? وهكذا. طيب. So no, he says that it's mentioned here that Tawus ibn Kaysan, who was from the what? We said he was from the what? Tabi'een. If he was a disciple of Ibn Abbas, then in most cases he was from the what? What level of the Tabi'een? Umar. If he was Ibn Abbas's friend and student, then in most cases he was from the what? The what? La. In most cases he was from the Sigar, the junior Tabi'een. If he was a disciple of Ibn Abbas, he said in most cases he didn't meet Abu Bakr and Umar and this companion and those big older companions. Because Ibn Abbas himself was a young companion. So if he himself was a young companion, and he didn't just meet him, but he actually studied with him, his disciple, then it has to prove that what? Tawus was also from the lower level of the tabi'een. Observation and then what? Deduction. Alright, got this or not? So it says in Sahih Muslim, ثم قال مسلم بن الحجاج بلغني أن طاووسا قال لابنه أدعوت بها في صلاتك؟ فقال لا. قال أعد صلاتك لأن طاووسا رواه عن ثلاثة أو أربعة أو كما قال. This proves, Imam Muslim is saying that I've heard that Tawus asked his son, did you mention it in your salah? And he told him to make the salah again. Is that هناك فوائد في صحيح مسلم. هذه فائدة فقهية تربوية غير أحاديث المرفوعة. عرفت كيف؟ So there are other benefits that you can find in Sahih Muslim as well. طيب, with that being said, An-Nawawi, he says, all of these things prove that this dua is very, very important. The dua is what? Very important. And that which is apparent is that Tawus held the opinion that it was what? Obligatory to say the dua in the salah. Why would he tell his son to do something again if it's only recommended? No, he says most of the ulama, the overwhelming majority, they hold the view that it's only what? Recommended and not obligatory. And another way of understanding Tawus' speech is that perhaps Tawus didn't say that it was obligatory, but it was something that was what? Very, very, very important. And what you tell your son to do something that your son doesn't actually have to do. Your son eats with his left hand. Is it haram to eat with the left hand? Is he of age? But you say what? La, eat with your right hand. To instill it in him. Whether Tawus, that was his madhab or not, and this is a fiqh issue, in which there could be ijma', quote unquote, or the four madhabs, but the tabi'in and the salaf as-salih may have had a different what? Different opinion. Who makes Abu Hanifa's view, or Imam Ahmad's view, superior over the view of a tabi'i? What's important is some of the ulama, they say, they use the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, in which the Prophet is quoted to have said, ثُمَّ لِيَتَخَيَّرْ مِنَ الدُّعَاءِ أَعْجَبَهُ إِلَيْهِ. ثُمَّ لِيَتَخَيَّرْ. The Prophet informed them what to say in the tashahhud. And then he said, afterwards, pick any dua that you what? That you want. Proving that this dua, even though it's a command or the Prophet did it, is not necessarily mandatory. طيب, خير inshallah. Here we're going to stop. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Jazakumullah khairan. I hope that everyone can take these different pointers and these different tips and these different tricks of the trade and put them into practice on a daily basis. Get lost, get confused, get frustrated. That's how you get good. Everybody understand this? I'll pour a little, what? Just a little bit in a cup. The rest of you have to what? You got to figure it out. And then come back with a question or a problem. I didn't understand this. What about this? Kada. Have I learned this? May Allah bless all of you. Ameen. Jazakumullah khairan.